So, I probably shouldn't take sides on a topic like this, but I love Aston Martin. Firstly, I'm a Brit, so there's an obvious connection there, but I'm also a massive James Bond fan. So, when I heard that Racing Point would be rebranded to Aston Martin for 2021 onwards, I was about as happy as Pastor Maldonado after his only win in 2012. Not to mention the return of the iconic British racing green, a colour very close to my own heart. There are many factors needed for this team to be successful, because after all, Formula 1 is a seriously competitive sport. But with the new regulations just over the horizon and a 4-time world champion joining the team, it's not looking too bad for them. But firstly, in order to give some context, I'm going to give you a very quick snapshot of the history of Aston Martin in motorsport. In fact, Aston Martin were actually born out of motorsport, with their first race at the 1922 French Grand Prix. Fast forward a few decades, where they actually won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1959, with legend Carroll Shelby at the wheel. Then came their Formula 1 break that same year, but they only competed in 13 races over 2 years, with a best result of 11th, so not too much to write home about. Apart from continuing to race in Le Mans and World Endurance Championship, they actually never returned as a team to Formula 1, until now. So as I mentioned before, Racing Point will be rebranded as Aston Martin from 2021 onwards, after the team's owner, and driver's dad, Lawrence Stroll, led a consortium of investors that bought a 20% stake in Aston Martin. It was a pretty sweet deal for Daddy Stroll, as Aston Martin were having a terrible year after going public in early 2019, so he managed to snatch it up pretty cheap. As for the team he owned already, it began as Jordan in 1991, before becoming Midland in 2006 and Spiker in 2007. Then in 2008 came Force India, which remained until 2018 before being renamed Racing Point, or as Kimi calls it. Before I continue, I notice most of you haven't subscribed to the channel. So if that's true, press that red subscribe button below, as well as the notification bell to be reminded of any new videos. And if you're feeling extra kind, go check out my Instagram and Twitter. I'll leave the links in the description below. So for most of 2020, Racing Point has been at the centre of the 2020 silly season following the departure of Sebastian Vettel from Ferrari back in May. From this came a knock-on effect of driver moves, much like Daniel Ricciardo and Renault back in 2018. So among the chaos, Racing Point remained fairly quiet, until the summer, where speculation and rumours about Vettel moving to Racing Point were all that people saw on their news feeds. Then in early September, Sergio Perez announced he would be leaving Racing Point. So, as everyone expected, Sebastian Vettel was announced as his replacement. And although Lance Stroll isn't exactly confirmed for next year, it's likely that his own dad isn't just going to kick him out. So this brings me on to my first point, Aston Martin's driver lineup. If you told me last season that Lance Stroll and Sebastian Vettel would be driving for Aston Martin in 2021, I would firstly think you were a complete nutter, purely because Vettel leaving Ferrari wasn't expected so soon, but I would have also thought the lineup could be stronger. But after most of the 2020 season, I would have to now say the opposite. I believe Lance has really come to fruition this season, and has shown the massive talent he had from his junior categories. I mean, for those that aren't aware, he finished the 2016 F3 season first, 187 points ahead of second place, beating the likes of George Russell, Callum Ilott, Nick Cassidy, Nikita Mazepin, Guan Yu Zhou, the list goes on. To be fair, I would be lying if I said I hadn't ridiculed him to begin with and called him a pay driver one too many times, but this season he has definitely put two fingers up at the haters with some awesome results. On the other side of the garage for 2021 is spinning instructor Sebastian Vettel, who, to his credit, has won 4 world championships and 53 races. I'm going to be honest in saying I certainly was not the biggest Vettel fan a couple years ago, but after his treatment at Ferrari this season, my opinion on him has completely changed. It's clear now that the toxic Ferrari environment caused him to underperform and crack under pressure. So moving away to Aston Martin may seem like a step back, but I reckon it's the best thing that could have happened to him. Now, from an Aston Martin's point of view, this is a great deal, because not only are they signing the 4th most successful F1 driver ever, but they are also going to benefit massively regarding their image and marketing by bringing on a marquee driver such as Seb. Vettel will also bring massive amounts of experience from both Red Bull and Ferrari, which could prove crucial to Aston Martin's efforts in beating them. But I would be lying if I said there weren't any question marks over his abilities, having had two pretty poor seasons regarding performance against his teammate, but also his tendency to make mistakes, which arguably cost him the title in 2018. One thing for sure is for the Aston Martin Vettel combo to work, he's going to need to get on top of this. And to his credit, his Red Bull days showed that when he is comfortable and happy within a team, he can be unbeatable. So moving on to the actual team, and I've got to say the move by Lawrence Stroll to rebrand the team to Aston Martin was a masterstroke. Firstly, by becoming Aston Martin, he has reinvigorated the team and has given the employees something to really be excited about. Because let's be real, Racing Point does sound a bit boring, but Aston Martin, well, any sane Brit wouldn't say no to that. But having the Aston Martin name is bigger than just boosting morale, it's also a goldmine for sponsors. It's fair to say that brands would rather sponsor a team called Aston Martin and everything that brings to a team called Racing Point that seems on the outside like a rich dad having a midlife crisis. Sorry, that's harsh. Also, not to mention all the new British supporters they're going to get. I probably sit somewhere in that group myself. So we all know they've been at the centre of controversy regarding the design of their car at the beginning of the season. I mean, they pretty much arrived at testing with a pink version of the Mercedes W10 from 2019, and unsurprisingly got a lot of stick from pretty much everyone in F1, being called names such as Pink Mercedes and Racing Point. But most of the way through the season, it's fair to say they've hit the jackpot. It looks like they will benefit from this philosophy next year as well, as they may have found a loophole for 2021 that allows them to model their car off the 2020 Mercedes, but don't quote me on that. So while this puts Racing Point in a pretty sweet position heading into next season, it may leave them stranded for 2022 when the new regulations come in, meaning they can no longer copy the Mercedes cars, completely at least. For those that might not be aware, only a few days ago Mercedes bought a 20% stake in Aston Martin, and this is a massive deal for the Formula 1 scene. With Mercedes owning 20% of Aston Martin, this not only will cause Aston Martin to have the financial backing, but they will also form a technical partnership with Head of Product Strategy at Mercedes, Wolf-Dieter Kurz, stating, "With this new expanded partnership, we will be able to provide Aston Martin with access to new cutting-edge powertrains and software technologies and components, including next-generation hybrid and electric drive systems." Just to be clear, he is referring to the commercial side of the company and not the Formula 1 side. However, it's completely possible that the two teams will form a technical partnership, almost like Red Bull and Toro Rosso, which could work out beautifully for Aston Martin in 2022. But the Mercedes-Aston Martin partnership doesn't stop there. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff also bought a stake in Aston Martin, just under 1%. All parties involved with this deal have accepted it is simply a personal investment from Toto, but it does raise questions for other teams regarding the closeness of Mercedes and Racing Point. So I'm going to stay on the topic of money for a bit. After all, it does make the world go round, and Formula 1 even more so. So how does Aston Martin's financial future look? Well, if I were to describe it in one word, it would be secure. The moment Lawrence Stroll bought the team in 2018, it was clear that he was going all in on this project. And to be fair, it does help having a guy worth $2.6 billion owning the team. And with a guy this successful at the helm, I think the team can rest easy, knowing Lawrence wouldn't want this business venture to fail, mainly because Lance would be left unemployed. But on top of having a billionaire funding the team, with Mercedes owning 20% of the company in the next few years, money isn't really such a problem anymore for Racing Point. To be fair, any team that can afford to sack a driver like Sergio Perez, who brings value on track and financially, certainly have their balances checked. And when looking at the 2021 budget cap and 2022 regulations, things are looking pretty bright. Established teams such as the big three of Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull are going to have to massively shrink their budgets by half, in some cases more, and learn how to operate much more efficiently. But on the other side of this are teams like Racing Point that have had to operate efficiently at a lower budget for years in order to stay competitive. Well, this means the budget cap in 2021 is going to help teams like Racing Point enormously, because they will no longer have to compete with teams that have eye-watering budgets. Sadly though, the budget cap won't cause massive change immediately, but we should see the effect in 2 to 3 years' time. And when looking ahead to the 2022 regulations, it's a bit less certain as to how Aston Martin will perform. Firstly, their very close relationship with Mercedes will no doubt give them a leg up in developing a competitive car, but Aston Martin will need to do most of the work. And with so many other teams looking in a good place for 2022, nothing is certain. So, to directly answer the question, can Aston Martin be a race-winning team? What I will say is Aston Martin have a really exciting future in Formula 1. Let's be honest, Mercedes don't commit to anything half-heartedly, so when looking at their investment in Aston Martin, I see this as a massive deal. But after all, I'm not a psychic, and time will tell as to whether this enormous shift in the team's dynamic will pay off in the form of race wins and possibly championships. But even if it fails miserably, just the idea of Aston Martin joining the Formula 1 grid gives me goosebumps. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments section below if you think Aston Martin can win races in the next few years. And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell to be reminded of any new videos. And make sure to head to my Instagram and Twitter, the links will be in the description below.